What are your thoughts on working only 4 hours a day? Does it sound reasonable for me to sleep until I'm no longer tired? 11 a.m. Then do 4 hours of focused work? I notice when I wake up early and try to work all day, I get easily distracted and often find myself dozing off. I'm currently working on a book, so I'm home 24/7. What are your thoughts on the minimal hours an entrepreneur should be working daily? And is it okay to sleep basically all day and work the rest of your time? I suppose you could do it that way, but you'll probably progress much slower working 4 hours a day. What are you doing with the other 20? You can't be sleeping all that time, and if you are, you may want to talk to a doctor. Have you tried the Pomodoro technique? Get a timer and work in increments. 25 minutes of focused work, 5-minute break. After 4 work sessions, take a slightly longer break. I've found that helps me a lot with distraction. Do whatever works the best for. If your best productivity comes after 3 shots of whiskey while hanging upside down on a trapeze, do it. You don't need our approval. Less than, May, I used to think my best productivity was when waking up later, but that's all changed now. You have to find the rhythm that works for you. I wake up at about 8 a.m. and FCK around until about 12 to 1 p.m. Sometimes later. Then I get into a groove and can go 2 to 3 hours or 15 hours. Part of this is self-exploration and figuring out how you work best. It's very tricky, and I feel guilty all the time, but there's no right answer. People think I am crazy when I describe how I work. Also, keep in mind that high-level thinking tasks sometimes take more time and are harder to get into. Like, if I am thinking about the next direction for my business, that can take 2 to 3 days of thinking where I feel like I am getting nothing done at all. Then, when I am coding, I can get down and dirty for 20 hours 3 days in a row. Creativity is much harder to do and focus on like normal work or tasks. Miracle morning? From my experience, the night before is important. As long as you don't stay up too late and get about 7 to 8 hours worth of sleep, you should be fine. If you want to be focused by 9 or 10 the next morning, wake up about 2 hours earlier and use the time to wake up. You could have some coffee or something, go running or to the gym before you start your day. While waking up, my advice is that you already get your mind set for what you're going. For instance, think about what you could write or go through some ideas. Sort of like brainstorming, or as I affectionately call it, brain masturbating. Hope this helps you use more of the day. I have never thought about hours, just what I need to get done to reach my goal. If you don't have goals, there are bigger issues than time. I had a miracle morning not too long ago by sheer accident. I woke up at 4 a.m. and couldn't go back to sleep, so I ended up just working. It was surprisingly productive, so I repeated it again and again, pretty much. But I used to wake up a few years ago around 10 a.m. but realized I was just kidding myself that I was more productive. Started getting up around 7 a.m. and productivity increased a lot. After Miracle Morning, I get up anywhere from 4:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. and am even more productive. What time do you go to bed at night? 8? 9? I don't need 8 hours sleep. 7 is the most. However, right now, I'm working on building a company, so I may only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep. I'd rather be tired than broke. Even so, my eating lifestyle, paleo and bulletproof coffee, ensure boundless energy and mental clarity. Without that, I wouldn't be able to do it. I eat paleo too, but I know the value of sleep to my body. With bad sleep, everything I do is pure crap. It's an area upon which I won't compromise because I don't do as well with bad sleep. but I am thinking of trying to wake up earlier, as the one time in my life where I regularly woke up at 5 a.m. I was pretty productive. Also, get a good meditation practice going. The moment I made meditation a daily habit 2x 15 or 20 minutes a day, I noticed I needed a lot less sleep and my deep sleep increased drastically. Now I sleep 6 hours and have never felt better upon waking up. Search the internet about the meditation or sleep correlation. I'm going to try that technique. Thanks. Thanks MJ. Lol, I was kinda surprised when I saw you replied. You need to do what is best for you, because what is best for you might not be what is the best for me, or for anyone else on this board. I know that for myself, I don't think I could ever work just 4 hours a day, at least not on the beginning, which is where I am right now. My daily routine is that I wake up at 5:30 a.m., go to the gym for 2 hours, come home, eat, read or catch up on news for an hour or so, and then start work around 9 to 10 a.m. I take breaks throughout the day, like I go running mid-afternoon with my dog every day for an hour, or I'll take a break to run an errand or two. And then I spend my nights doing my most productive work. I put on headphones, turn up my music, and do as much work as I can for 2 to 3 hours. I like to go to bed at night feeling like I made the most of my day, and productivity differs from person to person. So, if you can work 4 hours a day and feel as though you had a productive day and made most of your time, then go for it. That makes sense, thanks. I have a hard time meditating. My mind starts to wander and I just get frustrated. I meditate a lot better after yoga though, but that's only 1x a week. I'm also a bulletproof coffee fiend, as well as an early riser. Last week I started hard work on a new revenue stream and only ended up getting about 5 hours of sleep every night. I had bulletproof coffee in the morning and had a steady energy throughout the day. I knew I was tired, but it helped me think straight. Usually after a sleep that short I can't focus at all during the day. Since I'm also working a slow lane 9 to 5, the energy is important to keep my business funding coming. Isn't the point of meditating that you train your mind to not wander off while meditating? I think you just need to keep practicing it. Brain masturbating sounds right up my alley. Great answer, thank you. I find that if I'm really focused on something, time is somewhat irrelevant. There have been times where I've put in a solid 10+ hours of actual work and it didn't bother me one bit. If you are enjoying what you're doing, or at least what you're doing is to help your future, why limit yourself to only 4 hours of work? I can't imagine your thought process being, man, I'm really enjoying this, but I better stop now since it's been 4 hours. I've been meditating for years and my mind will still wander. It's perfectly normal. When you notice it happening, just recognize it and steer your mind back to your breathing or mantra or whatever it is you use to focus. 4 hours of productive work is far better than 8 hours of mediocre work. I'm only really productive about 3 hours a day at my slow lane job, and it's usually in the mornings from 9 to 12. I usually get more done during those 3 hours than the other 5 to 7 hours I'm putting in. You have my utterly insignificant permission to work whichever way suits you. Because ultimately that's the real motive behind your post. Validation. And that is not an insult or a stab. Lol, why thank you. My advice. Bust your $1. Then in the very near future you will have earned the right to work 0 hours if you don't feel like working. Most of you don't want success as much as you want to sleep. I'm here to tell you that if you want success you've got to be willing to give up sleep. You've got to be willing to work off of 3 hours of sleep, 2 hours of sleep. If you really want to be successful, sometimes you're going to have to stay up 3 days in a row. Because if you go to sleep you might miss the opportunity to be successful. Eric Thomas +1. Maybe I'm jaded, but I don't really agree with this. I busted my ass for 24 months straight, working hard and learning about how to generate business. Granted, I wasn't doing the right things, but I had to learn what the right and wrong things were. 2 years later, I'm still way off my goal and struggle with motivation because I feel incredibly burnt out. 2 of my entrepreneur friends went through the same thing, and wound up taking jobs. One of them would up taking a job. Maybe I am just feeling defeated because it's been a long time since I have had a big win. But I am not sure busting your $24 or $7 is good umbrella advice. If you disagree, I'd love to hear why. I heard that quote a lot in my time, and I like Eric Thomas motivational speaking, but I don't take that literally. See, I don't take that as you need to stay up night and day until your business works no matter what. Or you need to limit the amount of sleep you get so that you can work all the time to be successful. I interpret that quote to mean this: if you want to be successful, you need to be willing to give up things you normally need, like sleep. For example, but getting 4 hours of sleep a night and working every minute of the day is a great way to burn out in a few months. Getting rich is a marathon, not a sprint. You should sprint where necessary and play the long game at some points. I think we all understand the point Eric Thomas was making. There are a lot of moving parts to a business machine. I certainly don't mean to imply that if you only sleep 2, 3 or 4 hours a day you'll automatically become successful. That's ridiculous. Lots of small pieces make up a large puzzle. I don't care how many hours of sleep you get or don't get. If you are working off a faulty business model, you'll fail. If you are trying to sell a product or service people don't want, you'll fail. If you don't care about providing true value and are just chasing money, you'll ultimately fail. I could go on and on. However, I will say I'm fortunate to have a circle of friends that enjoy varying degrees of success, and I want to point out a common thread. One person's business is still in its infancy but experiencing a lot of growth. Last month alone this business generated over $3 million in revenues. Do you honestly think he sleeps till 11 a.m. and only works 4 hours a day? Another is generating mid to high 5 figures per month. I know most days he works on his business at least 14 hours a day. Do you think while building and growing, slept until 11 a.m. and only put in 4 hours? Another is laying the foundation to build a billion-dollar business that will disrupt a major industry. He's not an 8-hour sleeper and certainly not a 4-hour worker. Sacrifice in the short term to enjoy the long term. On some days or weeks, I do think he put in only 4 hours or day or less. When he was faced with a hard time. When he was struggling with strategy. When he was generally confused about the next steps. I'm not saying we should only work 4 hours or day. I'm saying that 4-hour or day work days aren't abnormal or even a bad thing sometimes. If you are fully committed, even when you're not working, you're thinking about your business and digesting, planning, strategizing. I also find that lack of focus or easy distractions, as mentioned by the op, shows me that I am not really sure what the next steps are, and am not committed or facing a crisis of meaning as defined by Brian Scudamore of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. When I am in that phase, sometimes 4 hours of work is a lot better than crashing and burning. Maybe op is suffering from this problem? There's a great post about it written by Scudamore on Tim Ferriss' blog actually. I think we fundamentally agree. It's just what we consider work is different. I think the thinking, planning, strategizing, problem solving, etc. is all part of working on the business. My 4-hour or day comments were more for the benefit of the op. BTW, welcome to the forum. I think so too. Thanks, I am really enjoying it so far, and really appreciate your flushing that out with me. You can work 4 hours a day if your competitors are working 3. First thing. Studying business and learning about business is an excuse. It never makes you money. You will learn far more by doing it. So pick up the phone and start. I quit my last job at age 19. Shit was hard but I made it work. I remember graduating college with 15K in student loans that I took out for living expenses. I knew that at my income level back then I would only last about a year on it. My business maintained the loan and barely did much more, but I pushed. I ate ramen and hustled. There was a fire under my ass, but there was no way I would get a job because I remember how hard it was to start a business that made any money while I had a safety net and could just blow it off. 3 years later, I pretty much enjoyed a good 6 months of retirement. I worked maybe 4 hours per month. I played golf almost every day at a private club while my business continued to pay me. My handicap was a 3. Eventually I got bored as hell and went back to work on some new projects, both of which have done very well. They were businesses that excited me and got my blood pumping about the future. If you think studying and scratching at the surface are going to get you anywhere, you are lying to yourself. The funny thing about entrepreneurship is that the accountability stops at you. Your landlord and power company don't give a shit that you tried and it didn't work. Neither do any of us. Try living on $1,200 a month. You'll start working on the right things. Heard quite a lot about this. Frankly, a lot of hype. Does it live up to that hype? I have been eating paleo since about 2006, way before the hype. Luckily, there wasn't a lot of hype back then, so I didn't feel as conned as most people probably do today. For me, paleo eating is great. I am very active, and move a lot. I find that I have a lot more energy and can think much more clearly when eating with a paleo bias. My wife and I aren't incredibly strict fanatics, but we notice when we start to deviate. We both feel a lot worse. Anecdotally, my wife attributes it with curing her PCOS as well. If you're the book reading type, check out this book. If you are the doing type, do the whole 30 challenge and see how you feel. If it's not for you, it's just 30 days. Cheers for the info. I was actually inquiring about the bulletproof coffee. I have tried paleo on and off. I feel fantastic when on it. I generally wake up much earlier with no alarm clock. But that never happens. I think that you have a concentration problem. You can try resting between intervals. I suggest you try meditation. It's normal that you can't get it in the beginning, and maybe check out the Power of Full Engagement book. You can do more than 4 hours a day, I am sure. Work on your business for 4 hours a day? I just don't get it. If you were working for someone else, you would most likely have to work at least 8 hours. I just don't get it. Why would anyone working for themselves only work 4 hours a day building their business? If there is passion for what you're doing, I find it hard to believe that one could only spend that amount of time working their business. I have started several and still enjoy working 10 to 12 hours daily, sometimes more. I love it. I find myself constantly coming up with new ideas to develop and implement in our existing businesses, and I just can't seem to stop the wheels from turning. An example of this in my life right now. Are you serious? 4 hours a day? I only eat because I know I need to. I think it wastes time otherwise. I believe if you have passion to create something from nothing, then you won't have enough hours in a day to work on it. Sure, I like to take a break and head to the islands for a few weeks or just get on my bike and ride, but I'm still thinking about perhaps I am a workaholic. I don't know. All I know is it beats working for someone else wholesaling myself out, and believe me, I did that the majority of my working life. Anyhow, I don't post on here very often anymore because I am way too busy building rather than wishing or dreaming. Take what you want and leave the rest. I'm sure some of this isn't for everybody. Definitely have a concentration problem. I will be trying meditation. Had a good experience with it last night in the hot tub at the gym. Actually, I can't switch off. So I feel like I am working all the time. That makes it hard to read, study and take action. Also, I recently went through a crisis of meaning, but I am coming out of it. I feel great about my future and my venture now, and I'm reading like crazy and taking action daily. Only thing that bothers me is spending my capital with no return at this point. My first venture was completely bootstrapped, and when I sink money into advertising experiments to see no results, it's very disheartening.